We have just eaten a fantastic haunch of roe with some lovely herbs, potatoes. We're going to take you through it. Cheers.
Welcome to part 3. I've travelled from east to west to meet José Souto. We've gone out, we've stalked a deer, José's butchered a venison haunch and we're about to cook it.
We're going to basically break some of this garlic up, and I'm going to use a pestle and mortar for doing this. Depending on basically, if it was a much larger haunch, I'd probably go about 2 or 3 times the amount of garlic. I'm going to marinate this probably for about 3 to 4 hours. You could marinate it overnight. If you're using larger pieces of venison, you probably would want to marinate it overnight. I'm just going to very sort of haphazardly just basically chop them up. Drop them into our pestle and mortar. Yeah, we can basically just crush them a little bit in the pestle and mortar. Take the rosemary leaves, take all the leaves off the rosemary leaves, take them off the stalks. And you want quite a bit of rosemary. Just give it a rough chop. Rosemary leaves are quite waxy, so they do want basically quite a bit of breaking up before you start putting them into a pestle and mortar. If you're going to put these into a liquidizer, then basically the liquidizer will do it for you. But if you're going to put it into a pestle and mortar, you need to break them up a little bit. So there we go, chop that up quite nicely. Take all of that, drop that into the pestle and mortar as well. Get a little bit of basically sort of traction on there. We're going to add our salt. So a good amount of salt into there, and then we're going to add a dribble of our oil. We've taken it down to sort of like a paste. We're going to add a little bit more oil. You want this in sort of like a paste. Yeah, that's the sort of the consistency that you want it to. A lovely paste. And the smell, yeah, in that, absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to put the meat into the vacuum pack bag, because I've got a vacuum packer, so I can do that. Go in and start rubbing it all onto the actual meat on the other side. Really, really working it into the meat. You can see in there all the marinades. Flavours are incredible. I'm going to do this for about 2-3 hours, because basically it's not a big haunch, so therefore basically it'll marinate enough in 2 to 3 hours. So it's been basically 3-4 hours, and this has been marinated in the fridge. I've taken it out for a good half an hour, and I've let it come to room temperature. Incredible smell. Take it out. You see it starts to basically sort of change colour slightly. What we're going to do is scrape off a lot of this. Yeah, just scrape it right off. And what you're saying, well, why are we going to do that? You know, we basically spent all this time marinating it. Why are we now scraping it off? Well, what's going to happen is when we basically put that into the barbecue, a lot of it's going to burn. So we don't want it to burn. So I'm just taking it all off. I'm going to use this for something else. Here, I have got some potato wedges, which I've done. Now, all I've done is basically put them into cold water, brought them up to the boil, and dropped them in there. And I'm going to drop all of that basically goodness that's come off of this meat. I'm going to drop in there. Yeah, just carry on scraping that stuff off. Basically, this on quite high, just around about sort of like the 500, just over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice and red hot in here. We're going to take our big steak, if you like, and we're going to drop it on there, and we're going to sear it. So we give it on one side. We're going to allow it to sear on one side. Yeah, and then we're going to basically turn it over. So just close the lid. Leave it for about sort of like 6 to 8 minutes. So we basically sear the outside. Now, what are we doing by searing? Well, we're creating like a cap on the outside of the meat to stop any juices escaping from the meat. So we're creating a wall, and that's sear on one side, and then we're going to turn it over and we're going to sear it on the other side. Now, inside the actual meat, all of the water molecules in the meat are getting very agitated and they're wanting to escape. But we're wanting to keep them into the meat. So that sear is going to help with that. And then as we carry on cooking the meat, yeah, it's going to help to basically flavour the meat, and all of the flavour that's going to be within the actual meat itself is going to stay there. And then it's going to come in very important later on when we come to cut the meat. We've got it on basically one side. It's been in a couple of minutes now. You can see some basically heat, some smoke starting to come out. Turn it up, lift it up. Let's have a look at it. So we just have a look. It's searing beautifully on one side. Yeah, so I'm going to pick it up, and I'm actually going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to a different part of the grill. Yeah, so that it can basically start to sear on that side. The reason I've turned it over into a different part of the grill is because as I put it onto the actual grill plate where I've put it in the first time, the meat will actually take the temperature down of the grill. So what we wanted to do is basically to put it into a clean or a virgin part of the grill where the temperature's still high, so we can get that lovely sear and that lovely crisscross onto the actual meat as well. Yeah, I'm going to take it again, another virgin part of the grill. Yeah, I'm going to sear that on again then. And again, we're going to give it another minute or two on that basically side of the grill and let it get nice and hot again, the temperature to come up. So while that's cooking in there, I've got all the residual bits and pieces basically left over from the marinade. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in there, and I'm just going to toss these potatoes in that marinade. We'll drop it into this tray. Yeah, spread them around. Yeah, we want to keep the middle bit for basically the meat. Turn it again. Oops. Another virgin part of the grill. Right, so we've done the 4 turns. I'm going to just lift it up again. We've done that last turn. And you can see, basically, you've got lovely sear on the meat on all sides. So we're going to just lift the meat up, put it in here now with the potatoes. Yeah, going to drizzle a little bit of oil on the top of it. Yeah, just to basically help it along. Look at that. It smells beautiful. Yeah, and we're going to put it back into the barbecue. Close the lid. And we're going to leave it in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's all. That's how long this will take to cook. I can hear it. It's basically sizzling beautifully. So open we up. It's cooking beautifully in there, everything. So we're just going to basically go into one of the thickest parts. Yeah, we've got 62 degrees basically in that. 68 degrees in that. The meat's ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the meat out, put it onto a plate and just allow it to rest. And I'm going to give it a good sort of 10 to 15 minutes allowing it to rest. Leave the potatoes in there so the potatoes can get a bit more colour. So look at them. Oh, all the juices have caramelised off the bottom, all of the basic flavours that we have in there. Lovely, you have potatoes in there. And now I'm going to use a carving knife and take this meat and we're going to basically just carve it into 3 pieces, just where basically the natural joins are of the actual meat. Put it to one side. Yeah, and then we're going to basically slice our meat. And then this last piece here, again, just slicing through. Beautiful colour, lovely and crispy. Yeah, lots of fantastic flavour. Just a few bits of basically rosemary just to remind us basically where this came from. Yeah, and all the flavourings that we've got in it. A little bit of seasoning, just to the top of it. Absolutely fantastic haunch of roe deer. British roe deer from our countryside, produced by the countryside that comes around us. One of the most sustainable, ethical and best quality pieces of meat that you can possibly eat. And now we're going to tuck in.